Thank you so much. That's really kind. Thank you so much. And I'm so not the head of machine learning at Google. There are quite a few heads. It's like a hydra, but very honored to be here. We have in our group we have a lot of concerns that intersect with things that are being discussed here tonight. But the one in particular that I wanted to talk about, since I have only a short time to talk, is sort of in the spirit of solutions journalism, a tool or a technique that we've developed over the last couple of years that I think might have something useful to offer to tonight's topic. So what you're seeing on the screen is an animation of a little technology, a very small technology that is showing up in Android, in the newest release of Android called Smart Select. And the idea is that when you press on a piece of text, there is a little neural net that tries to take a guess as to what you're selecting, because that does a better job of guessing what you're selecting than just a regular expression or some rule. And it's a little neural net. It's a classic example of AI, albeit a very, very small kind of AI. But this is also an example of a sort of AI that you really want to be on the device and not to be implemented as a service that Google runs. Selecting text on your phone is not Googling something. It's a piece of AI, if you like, that one would like the company that makes the phone to embed in the device rather than to run as a service. Now, the challenge is that if you're an AI researcher, you know that the usual story with deep learning, with machine learning in general, is that the use of the service is what produces the logs, the training data that allow you to make the next generation of the service better. And this is what prompts the sort of why big data is the new oil kind of narrative. And in this case, the importance of putting this algorithm on the device and not sending the training data to Google is that, of course, you want to preserve the user's privacy, but then how do you make this thing better? So we developed a technique in the group called federated learning that involves the device remembering all of the corrections. In other words, if you try to select text and you change the beginning or ending caret, then that correction is remembered by the phone itself, and it dreams at night. It does the same thing probably that we do when we sleep. We can consolidate memories. That's why, by the way, if you don't get enough sleep, you can't learn a new skill. And so it trains its own copy of the neural net. But the really interesting part of this technique is that those learnings, those changes in the neural net weights, are then compressed and encrypted and sent back up to the cloud and combined with everybody else's compressed and encrypted changes. And that way, that learning can aggregate across all of these devices. And in that way, it's possible to separate deep learning from big data, which we see as a very important step in moving toward all the benefits that come from learning at very, very large scale without having to have this compromise with privacy. And this is the sort of infographic that we tried to make to convey this idea to muggles. I'm not sure if it worked or not. I was very happy to hear my boss, John Andreas, say at Google's I/O conference, you want to do machine learning on the device as much as you possibly can. It's lower latency, it's closer to the user, it's distributed. And this obviously has a lot of interesting implications. The more we can do it in terms of rights and liberties. I guess I should close by saying that when we think about the future of AI, I very much hope that we're not talking about a future in which there is some singular giant AI that somehow is embedded in all of us, which I've sometimes described as being a sort of Borg-like future. It's more interesting, I think, to talk about a more X-Men-like future in which the AIs that companies and researchers and so on build can augment us as individuals. And I think that it's fundamental to think about AI that way in order for us to be more as opposed to less. The metaphor that this is a still. I don't think I got permission actually, but this is from the not very good movie made out of Philip Pullman's wonderful His Dark Materials trilogy that imagines sort of witches' familiars as being like a part of every human consciousness manifested in something physical, and this idea of a familiar or of an extension of yourself that isn't quite you but isn't quite not you is, I think, the sort of future that we should be aiming for. And I guess I'll stop there. Ben, do you know?